Brian, the Equinox EV is near and dear to my heart. Why? Because I'm poor. And it was promising to be a better vehicle for a low price starting at 30,000 US. When they announced it in Canada, they didn't announce it, but when they said it's coming a couple of years ago, they'd started around 35,000 and went up to 37 approximately, they said, and then the price went away, which is never good. There's been lots of inflation and product shortages in the last 2 years. So a couple of weeks ago or so, they announced the American pricing, but now they announced the Canadian pricing. And it is supposedly starting at 35,000 US. But the range went up. They're not having a lower range. They're all going to be 319 miles, which is 512 kilometers. It's pretty good starting.
Yeah. So the same battery pack for all the trims.
Yeah, and that's pretty good for an economical EV. That's really good, and maybe I'd like to think that's the new normal. The maximum charging speed is only 150 kilowatts, which is low for a new vehicle, but it's 3 times the maximum roughly of what my Bolt EV is, so that would be an improvement. Maybe overall it would only charge twice as fast. The peak depends what the charging curve is, because it doesn't stay at the peak, obviously. Prices also include the destination fee, which is like $2,500. So if you add the fact that that's including the destination fee of $2,500 and the extra range of 100, kilometers or 60 miles, then it's really not that bad. But what I don't understand is that the 1LT, which they haven't announced yet, they say in the United States it's going to be 35,000. The only difference is, heated steering wheel and heated seats and a front light bar, and it adds up to thousands of dollars, like $6,000-7,000 for that.
Yeah,
that's the only difference. That can't be right. There's got to be, because I can go for $25 buy a heated seat, plug it into my cigarette lighter type thing, and it works just the same way almost. It's not pleasant looking, but it's there.
Yeah. Well, it's often difficult to even get the low-end trim on a car. Dealerships don't typically want to sell those. So, they can advertise a starting price that's really good, but then you get to the dealership, maybe they don't have those in stock. Maybe it's got to be a special order, and you get tired of arguing with them, so you end up, buying the heavier trim, even though maybe you don't need it.
Yeah, I had to buy, $300 mats for my car because that's what the previous guy ordered, and he canceled his order.
Oh, yeah.
They're not worth $300. They're pieces of rubber. And I think we actually ordered our own for $100 that are much better. They're laser fitted. So, yeah, it's in Canada, GM Authority, which is this GM blog, which is really has a lot of connections to General Motors insiders, and they're usually very accurate. They're estimating 41,000 Canadian as a starting price. But again, I'm skeptical because you're not going to knock off $6,000-7,000 for those things. But if they do, that would actually make it cheaper than what the Bolt is currently listed for, even though they stopped manufacturing them in December. There's still some around, and the price is like 42. So it's a much bigger car and much bigger specs.
Prices have sometimes come down. I know there was a big announcement. The Mustang Mach-E has been reduced a lot in Canada. So, we've hit that kind of demand plateau, which we're probably going to talk about in the next story.
So it's $7,200 between the 1LT and the 2LT for those heated seats and a front light bar. I mean, come on. There's something that GM is just, when you see things like this, something's not right. When you see a charity do something weird, you realize that, maybe the owner is skimming off them or something like this. It doesn't make sense. There's something fishy about this, that they're not being upfront. I mean, Mary Barra, the CEO of Chevy or GM, said that they can't sell an EV for under 40,000 and make a profit right now. So in the States, I guess they'd be losing money again on this Equinox. But again, it brings people over. I mean, they go all the way up to 58,000 from the Canadian price goes all the way up to 58,000, which is actually pretty good because in American dollars, that's 63,000, and theirs only goes up to, no, it's bad. It's bad. No, actually, the American highest trim is 46.7 in US dollars, and that's 63 Canadian. But in Canada, it's actually $5,000 cheaper at 58,000. So anyway, yeah, it's just if you compare it though, I mean, once you get pricey, if you don't have that one LT that's well equipped, like in Canada, we often get the heated steering wheel and seats as a baseline option, right?
Yeah, like you would be crazy to buy a car in Canada without heated seats or heated steering wheel, at least in
Especially in
2024.
an EV, when you use a lot of
Yeah,
your energy on that, on heating the cabin, you want to maybe.
it's kind of a given, yeah. But we do always have slightly different trim levels here in Canada.
And people think heated steering wheels and seats uses a lot of power. It does not. It's like 100 watts, 150 watts, and cycles on and off. That's not much power in an EV. That's nothing when you're using 7,000 on the, to heat up
Yeah.
the car and the heater.
No, I think we talked about one time if you were stranded in the woods with an EV that you could run the heated seats for like a week or something. Did you figure out?
Yeah, over a week, 2 weeks even
Yeah.
in some cases. I don't know if that would keep your blood from, getting the hypothermia level if you turned it on high and just kept heating away, but maybe it would.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so the other vehicles, though, once you get to around 40,000, though the Y in the States, the Tesla Model Y is 45,000 right now. And what you don't really realize is that Teslas come fully equipped. There's not really different trim levels. The trim levels on Teslas are the performance of the motor, the number of motors, of the all-wheel drive. You got an all-wheel drive version, so it's got two motors, the front and the back. And, there's performance versions, of course, which are racetrack worthy. But for the most part, Teslas come with everything that you get. You get it in all the
Yeah.
cars.
It's something I haven't thought of for a while because I've kind of taken it for granted now. But yeah, Tesla was really trying to disrupt the auto industry, not just in terms of the drivetrain, but yeah, you don't have to go through that rigmarole. And of course, they don't have dealerships either. So everybody pays the price that's on the website. You click the button on the website to buy it. You don't have to have a conversation about, should I spend $7,000 on the heated seats?
So the Model Y, however, does come with 100 kilometers less range. So it's actually fairly short range unless you buy the long range model, which you did as well, right? You bought the long range model.
Yeah, it's around 500 kilometers.
Yeah, but it's about the same price, and they're just not going to compare. Like, you're going to have the charging network, complete access to the charging network. We're going to see just how good of an advantage it is once they start making the NACS connectors in all these cars, the Tesla connectors, to see how much of the advantage it is to have a Tesla, to have the access to the network. For one thing, though, it's kind of pricey. So, for non-Tesla owners.
Well, one would think it's going to help once the other automakers can have the Tesla connector built right into their cars. That's definitely going to help. But yeah, the question is, how much is it going to help against Tesla, which has kind of become the default electric car at this point?
So the Hyundai Ioniq 5 standard range is 220 miles of range, which isn't a lot, actually. It's less than 400 kilometers, but it charges fast. It's an 800-volt architecture, allows a lot of charging speed, up to 350 kilowatts that allows. I think it's pretty close to that. And now it doesn't stay at that level, but you can charge the car from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, which is, I don't know. It still needs a bit more range for us, though, in cold climates. But yeah, so you got that, and that's the same price as the 2LT, and I'm sure it's equipped the same and just less range. So I don't know. You're going to have to be a Chevy fan to buy this vehicle, the way I feel. In Canada, though, we got different pricing, and the Ioniq 5 is actually prohibitively expensive. But in the States, where most of these things are sold, and most of our listeners are, that's going to be the case there. The Volvo EX30, which is compelling, compact, it's SUV, it's 275 miles range. That's really good for 36,000. But of course, in Canada, it starts at 53.7, which is way, way too expensive. It's $5,000 more if you converted we're getting punished for being Canadian again. I hate it. I didn't choose to live here. I was born here.